It's time to mind your business with me, Jamillah Lodge. Tune in to find out how to mind your business with BEDC, special guest entrepreneurs, industry experts, and more. Brought to you by BEDC. Bermuda Business starts here. Taylor Williams, welcome to Mind Your Business.
Thank you.
And you know me, I'm your host, Jamillah Lodge of BEDC. But no, I'm excited to have you on the show, and we're going to talk a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey.
All right.
So before we get started, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes. So my name is Taylor Williams. I am the Director of Business Development and producer for 7 South Productions.
Okay. So 7 South Productions, we actually met when you did your rocket pitch for your other business,
That's
Elevate.
Right. That's right.
So what is the deal? What's going on with Elevate?
Yeah, so Elevate is growing a lot. So when we met, that was right before the pandemic.
Yes.
So that was in November 2019.
Yes.
I think it was. So we had just launched Elevate. We were gathering all of these homes, and we were explaining to people what we did and how we can help Airbnbs. And for anybody that doesn't know, Elevate Host Services is a full-service vacation rental management company, and we do everything from calendar management to guest concierge, setting up taxis, dropping off groceries, all of that. And we basically just explained to people, what we did, and the rocket pitch was a very, very pivotal point because we were able to win first place in the pitch pin category.
You did.
And yeah. So
Fix it. Gotta get you in the live. There we go.
All right. It's all fixed.
Back in.
We're back in.
So after rocket pitch, first place winners, Elevate is still in existence.
Oh, yes.
And it's doing well.
It's doing well. We actually just had our best month this month. I think we had, I want to say it was 50 reservations over the course of the month. Highest grossing month that we've ever had. Brought on a few more homes, and the phone was ringing a little bit more to bring on a couple more homes. And we've refined the processes. We've hired people, so we have people that work with us, full time now. We have an office manager, myself as kind of the person overseeing everything.
Yeah.
And my wife, Tashley, she's overseeing everything as well. So things
that
are
is
moving
so
along.
good. I'm so excited for you guys.
Thank you.
And I guess, how are you managing that and 7 South Productions? Like, how do the two work together, or do they?
Well, they do. I'm just very fortunate enough to have a team on both sides that really believe and support me in everything that I do. So the team on the Elevate side, they are so dialed in now with everything that they do. We give them the list at the beginning of the day or beginning of the week, and they just execute it. And then they just check in with me every now and again to say, hey, is this correct? These are all the check-ins and checkouts and scheduling and all of that. So they handle everything. And then my team on the 7 South side is absolutely phenomenal. And I work with a team of rock stars.
Yeah.
So I try to split my time evenly, throughout the day. It never happens like that, though.
Of course not.
I'm in my mind, I'm always like, okay, like from 7 a.m. till 12, I'll do Elevate stuff. In the afternoon, I'll do all 7 South stuff, and it never happens like that. Yesterday, for example, we were getting calls from a couple of the Airbnbs. Some things are happening, and at the same time, I'm trying to gear up proposals for new projects that we have coming up on the
people
7
like
South
us
side.
calling you last minute, like, hey, what are you doing now?
No, but it works. It works well, and it made me as a person, especially the position that I hold in both companies, just more efficient.
Okay.
Right?
So was entrepreneurship something you always wanted to do? Like, did you always I'm going to be working for myself, and that's what I want to do in my life? Did you always know that?
Yeah, you know what? I think that's a very good question. I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs have that story. It's like, I was selling lemonade when I was, so young. I don't think that was necessarily me. I knew eventually at a certain point that I would want to work for myself.
Right.
But when I was younger, I didn't really have anybody that was very close to me in my circle that were entrepreneurs.
Okay.
So it seemed like this kind of like abstract idea. And I remember I was in like the 8th grade, and we were playing this game called like Real Life or something like that.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting the occupation of an entrepreneur. So, and then as a kid, you want to, make money and all of
Yeah,
that,
of
right?
course.
So it kind of gives you the outline of this entrepreneur's life. So it's like how much they make, what they drive, where they live, and all of that. And I'm like, wow, that's very interesting. I never really heard about it, starting your own business and being an entrepreneur
Mm-hmm.
before that. So I remember I went home and I was talking to my dad, and I was like, Dad, I'm going to be an entrepreneur one day. And he was like, in what? And I was like, I don't know.
Something.
In something. And then he was like, well, after a lot of back and forth,
Yeah.
he was like, well, an entrepreneur is somebody that creates something. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what are you going to create?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, I don't know. And like after that conversation, I was very devastated, because he was like, well, this isn't like just an occupation, like, being a teacher,
Right.
where, there's an outline there for you. It's like you
got to create your
have
own
to create
outline.
the outline. That's
right.
right. So to answer your question, I mean, that was kind of my first introduction to wanting to be an entrepreneur. And then I have a completely different background than what I do now. I have a degree in kinesiology, and I used to work in a physio clinic, and then I ended up working on the corporate side. But then it got to a point where when I was in the clinic, I saw a gap between kind of the treatment of people coming in for physio and them coming back into physio because they've hurt themselves. And what they'll do is they'll continue to do these exercises and all that while they're in for treatment, but then they won't have any type of continuation. So my first actual business was therapeutic exercise.
Right.
And that's, I think that was probably like maybe 7 years ago.
We have this debate, like, can entrepreneurship be taught, or are entrepreneurs born? And from what you just described, your story, it really does sound like you were just an entrepreneur at heart. Like, I think part of the what you have to have as an entrepreneur is the ability to recognize when there is an opportunity, right?
That's right.
So you're doing your physiotherapy thing, and you're like, well, wait, there's a gap in the market here. They aren't being served. And guess what? I'm going to fill it, right? That's a whole different kind of mindset than I think what you would find for someone who wants to continuously work for someone for them, which is nothing wrong with that. But I just think it's just interesting how you didn't think that you were going to be an entrepreneur, but it seems very organic and natural that you will find yourself in this space. Yeah. And not only that, but you got multiple businesses, right? You're like borderline serial entrepreneur here.
Well, you know what? I mean, like starting that first business too, I can't give enough credit to the mentor that I had at the time.
Okay.
And he's still my mentor now. We're not as in touch as we used to be. But just having the proper people around you that really will support you in what you do is so crucial too. Because I remember I walked into a meeting that I wasn't supposed to be into on a particular day when I was working at this physio clinic. And I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. I had a full business plan. I just taught myself how to create a business plan,
right? And
had a full business plan, wrote everything down, and I was like, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to call it, and I'm going to register it as my business.
Yes.
And then all the owners just looked at me, and I expected somebody to be like, no.
Yeah.
But they were like, all right, cool.
They're That's like, awesome.
We'll make it happen, and whatever support that we can give you, you'll have from us.
And that's really fortunate, right? Because that wouldn't always happen. Sometimes, especially in Bermuda, where it's so small, people are automatically threatened. They are in fear of competition. What does that mean for me? If you start your own business, now how is that going to impact my ability to retain market share?
That's right.
And so that they didn't do that, kudos to them. And I often think like competition is good, right? It helps you up your game.
Yep.
It helps them up their game. And in this instance, it doesn't sound like you were going to be directly competing. You were actually serving a market that wasn't being served, right? So it could be a complementary kind of situation.
That's right.
It could be.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was, I mean, because to a certain point, the physiotherapist would work with these clients until they got to a certain point where they were essentially able just to function again.
Yeah.
And then I would take them from that point and just work on kind of everyday things with them in the gym. So like lifting things and just kind of, it's very complimentary.
That's what we're talking about.
That's right. It works.
So let's get back to 7 South
Yep.
because I'm trying to figure out how you got from physiotherapy to now concierge, Airbnb, hospitality, and now we in 7 South Productions.
Yes.
How did you make that transition? How did it come about? And talk about like the growth of that particular business, 7 South.
Okay, so how 7 South came about. So I met my business partner, Felix Obas, through a mutual friend. I thought that he was just a very cool guy. We just instantly connected. We had a meeting to, so he had a videography company as well called Obas Nation Productions.
Yes.
And so he found out about Elevate, and he was like, hey, I love everything you guys are doing. I want to shoot a video for you guys. I want to work with you. So we had a meeting. The meeting was supposed to be an hour. We were there for 3.
Oh, wow.
You know, and like just the vibes were there. You know, him and his wife are amazing people. I was with my wife as well. And at the end of the meeting, I said to my wife, I was like, would it just be weird if I just wanted to hang out with that guy all the time? Like, you know, I just like the energy was just so good. So that's how Felix and I met. And then we worked on that project. It was a huge success. And that was the beginning days of Elevate. And it really started to see some growth after we released that video. I think it had like 6,000 or 7,000 views or something like that. It was really great. And then kind of fast forward from that, he shot another video for us during the pandemic as we were coming out of, I think, the first lockdown, just to let people know, hey, Elevate is still here. And, you know, we're still functioning and we're not going anywhere. And then we kind of just progressed from there. So like all entrepreneurs, we have to kind of wear a few different hats and do different things. So Felix and I just started talking more, and he was like, yeah, you know, you can actually come help me on the production side for a few extra dollars because I needed kind of all the money that we could get in order to inject it into Elevate in order to grow. So we started working together under Obas Nation, and he essentially
go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. My phone is ringing. Like
we're multitasking here. We got all different kind of ways that we're shooting this. So,
all right, I'm just gonna turn this on now.
Okay.
Do not disturb.
All right.
Yeah, phone's always ringing.
Yes.
Always.
You working.
It's always ringing.
That's right. But, that's a good thing, though.
It is. Yeah. It's a concern when the phone's not ringing.
Right.
You know, so, but yeah, so I ended up helping Felix out on the production side. And then he was like, yeah, you know, you're actually pretty, you know, good at this.
Yeah.
And kind of positioned myself in a way where he was like, I could do it by myself. And I've been doing it by myself for a long time. But you've actually position yourself where it's like, I don't want to do it by myself.
Right.
So then kind of fast forward, Felix was working on a modeling course. Felix is an international model. He won't brag about the things that he's done, but he is.
You brag for him.
I always have to take the opportunity to brag for him. International model, very, very high level, very successful person. So he was putting together a modeling course, and I came in as the fitness guy.
Okay.
You know, based on my background.
Right.
And then that's when we met. When I met my other partner, Kemeny Fox, and she came in as the creative director. So she makes everything look amazing on camera. So we worked on this modeling course. It was a huge success, really brought people together. And then we worked on a shoot for Vineyard Vines. And we got some clothes from Vineyard Vines, and we said, hey, you know, we're a company here in Bermuda that can actually produce you know, all these photos and different digital assets for you. And we shot everything, presented it back to them and the marketing team, and they loved it. And so Felix and Cam called me up, and they were like, hey, we think that we have something here.
Yeah.
And that was the inception of 7 South. That's how it started. It just kind of was going out on a limb, bringing creatives together, going out on a limb, and then just kind of making things happen and realizing that, you know, we are stronger together than apart, because, you know, Felix had his own production company, basically all video, and Cam had her production house as well, which was all photo. So we came together to offer photo, video, and all of that. And then, like I always say, I come in to do all the boring business stuff.
But you're good at it.
Yeah, well, thank you.
You know what I mean? And everybody plays a role. Everybody plays a part, which makes the whole thing kind of work, you know?
It does.
That's your secret sauce. I mean, that is it's really cool to hear how organic the kind of creation of the company was, right? It wasn't forced. It just was a natural fit. And you guys recognized the opportunity again that was there by you coming together and building this company. Now, the name Seven South Productions, where does that come from?
That is a great question. So, Seven South Productions, on that day that Cam and Felix called, we were like, what are we going to call this new production company? And we started throwing out a bunch of different names. So, I think we had like Cedar Gate Productions and Longtail Productions and, different things like that. But the main thing that we wanted to do was we wanted to transcend borders, for one, because we wanted to work towards being an international production company. So we're doing work here, we're doing work, all over the world. So that was kind of the first part of that. The second part of that is, obviously, as a production company, we like to create a lot of beautiful things. And when I had first moved here, I would always take the number 7 bus from Somerset to town. Yeah. And I would always take that bus because of the view. On South Shore, right? I'm like, it was the most beautiful thing, and the ocean just went forever, and it's so blue. And I come from Canada, East Coast. We see water, but it's not the same blue water like that. And that's right. It's very inspirational. Yeah. And then in a biblical sense, the number 7 being the number of completion, because that's one of the things that we want to do. Whenever anybody works with us, we want them to know that we are going to complete their project to the best of our ability, and they won't need to go anywhere else in order to get that done. So that's where Seven South Production. All right, now look at you being all philosophical and everything. I try to sound smart every once in a while. It works. So part of this show, we like to talk about, of course, your experience, how you got into this entrepreneurship game, but also we hope that we're inspiring people who are considering entrepreneurship, young people especially. So what would you say to someone who may be considering entrepreneurship, but it's scary, right? It's a risk because you're taking on the responsibility for not just yourself in some instances, but for others who are depending on you to do your job. That's right. So that they can still eat and pay their bills. So what words of encouragement would you give to someone considering entrepreneurship? I would say 100% just do it. I was the type of person that wanted to have everything mapped out before I actually got into it. And my wife is just like, okay, you can plan forever, but you're not actually going to get that experience until you dive in. So that's number 1. That's what I would say. Number 2 is get a mentor. Okay. Because I know a lot of solopreneurs, and when things are good, things are good. Right. But when things are bad, when you get a bad review or a bad phone call or somebody's unhappy, it's very, very easy to lose motivation. And when you have a mentor, you call them up, and my mentor said to me, he's like, all right, cool, that's a bump in the road. So, nobody died. You're going to continue to move forward. So, just take this as a learning lesson. So what I started to do was to take those bumps in the road as just lessons to say, okay, well, what actually happened here to cause that? Yes. And then how can we fix it for the next time? And essentially now I see those bumps in the road as just a refining process. Every time that something comes up, whether it's in 7 South or Elevate, we have a team meeting and we say, okay, guys, well, how did this actually transpire? And then what can we do to eliminate it next time? I think that's a great way to look at it, because I think sometimes, especially as solo entrepreneurs, their project or whatever they start is their baby, right? And so you have the tendency to be like, don't be talking about my baby like that. Right? Like, what you mean? Yep. And it really, like you said, it's an opportunity to learn and to figure out, well, what went wrong and how can we fix it so it doesn't happen again? Right. So that you already have that kind of thought process is great, because we try to tell people, look, you have to separate. It's still a business. It is. Yes, it was your brainchild. You birthed it. It is your baby, but it's still a business, and you still have customers. That's right. That have expectations. They do. And if they're telling you something, well, you better listen. Yeah. Or you're going to lose them, right? Exactly. So I think that's phenomenal that you do that. So that's 2. Is there anything else you think they should consider? I mean, I feel like I could just talk for days about this, to be honest with you. But for the sake of time,
We only got 30
I
minutes.
know for the sake of time, I know I can't do that. And my partners tell me I'm long-winded all the time. So,
It's
no,
good, though.
we'll leave it at 2 for now.
Okay.
Those are the 2.
Those are the 2?
Yeah.
Okay, so mentor and then just do it, right?
Just do it, yeah.
I would agree with you. I mean, one of the things that we try to encourage people to do is like, okay, you have this idea. And people come all the time with ideas. And they're like, oh, I don't want to tell nobody because they're going to steal my idea.
Yep.
And I'm like, it's not the idea. It's the implementation of the idea.
Yes, that's so right.
Right?
We were just talking about that in our last team meeting on Monday. And, because we always encourage a lot of collaboration and competition.
Yeah.
And I was saying to my partners, I was like, well, I mean, anybody can be given a recipe or a blueprint, but they won't be able to actually make that or build that the same way that you do.
Exactly.
Right. So, I mean, because I was one of those people in the beginning, I didn't want to tell anybody what I was doing.
Yeah.
But when I really started to learn about collaboration and kind of learn that, the way that I do something will be completely different than the way that other people do things.
Yeah.
That's when it's like, okay, well, now I'm able to talk about these things and what I want to do.
And you never know where you're going to find that person's going to help you make that idea a reality.
Exactly.
Like if you hadn't said nothing to Felix, right?
Yeah.
Y'all still be doing your separate thing and couldn't be doing as much separately as you're doing together. So
That's right.
I definitely think that that's something that I hope people hear when they hear this, is that it is important. Teams are important. You know what I mean? I remember I went to a conference and Richard Branson spoke, and he was like, yeah, whatever, I'm the visionary, but I'm nothing without my team.
Oh, 100%.
And so he's like, I find people that are smarter than me.
Yep.
To get it done, right? I don't have to know how to do everything, but I have to know that I don't know how to do everything.
That's right. and that's very valuable too.
Yeah.
I mean, I always have a lot of respect for anybody that says, you know what, I actually don't know how to do this, but I'm going to find out, or we're going to put somebody in place that does know more than me in this particular area.
Yeah.
I have a lot of respect for people that do that.
You have to.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys collectively, Felix, Kamani, yourself, came together and you created this beautiful business called 7 South Productions. So talk a little bit about what it is that you guys do.
Sure.
And then let people know how to reach you if they're interested in creating beautiful things.
Sure. So 7 South Productions is a full service video and media agency. Now we focus on everything from commercials to brand videos, testimonial videos, promotional videos, all of that. On the video side, we do product shoots. So whether it's a store that has new products that are coming in and they want to market them to their audience, we do that as well. We do websites, we do graphic design, voiceovers. We do.
Okay.
Yeah, we do. So essentially any digital asset that needs to be created for to be put out to the market,
right?
That's what we do.
Okay.
And whether anybody has an idea of what they want it to look like, or if they say they don't and they have no idea at all, our whole team, not just myself, Cam, and Felix, but we have a whole team of creatives that will be involved in that project. And even if it's the smallest idea, we'll just develop that thing all the way to make it something actually tangible.
All right. Well, how can the people contact you?
Well, they can look us up on Instagram.
Okay.
So the number 7 South Productions. They can get in contact with me directly. Just my first name, Taylor, Taylor, at 7 South Productions, or info at 7 South Productions.
Okay.
And we are always looking to collaborate with people and just make magic.
All right. Well, I like it. We like making magic around here.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So we look forward to working with you guys again. Working with you was great. You helped us out with our Global Entrepreneurship Week campaign. And so I owe you like an RFP. So that's happening.
Okay. I look forward to it.
Look, I have to keep telling myself, come on, Jamillah, do it. Yeah. Cross that off your to-do list. But no, it's been wonderful talking with you, learning a little bit about how this whole thing got started. Yeah. I wish you all the best. Wish you continued success.
Thank you.
It sounds like you have the kind of secret sauce, right? It takes a team, right?
Oh, it does.
You focus on what's important that you can do and what your team does, and together you guys make magic.
Yes, we do. We do.
So thanks again for joining us here on Mind Your Business.
Thank you for having me.
And remember, if you don't mind your business, who will?
That's right. Who will?
Thanks a lot, Taylor.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for tuning in to Mind Your Business with me, your host, Jamillah Lodge. Tune in next week, Thursday at 4 p.m. because if you don't mind your business, who will? Mind Your Business is brought to you by BEDC. Bermuda Business starts here.